Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, and we've got some more gaming news. So if you want to stay up to date on the games that I'm playing, my live stream, stuff like that, drop a like and subscribe, and yeah, let's just get straight on into it. So there's been actually some interesting news coming out over the last day. So I uploaded a video talking about Mass Effect, and so if anybody's a fan of Mass Effect or BioWare in general, you're going to want to be actually paying attention to this update, because since really it was Dragon Age Inquisition and Andromeda, we'll call those the last two true, in significant air quotes, Mass Effect BioWare games, and obviously Dragon Age as well. But those are the staples. Those are the staples of Mass Effect. You've got staples of Mass Effect. Staples of BioWare. You've got Mass Effect and Dragon Age. Those are really the two staples. Now, Mass Effect has always been the bigger one. Dragon Age has always been good, high quality, but ever since Dragon Age Origins, that series has kind of just, gone downhill in terms of RPG mechanics, stuff like that. But if you look at Mass Effect, the original trilogy of Mass Effect is always held in high esteem. So recently we got the news that we were actually going to be getting another Mass Effect game, and they were doing the Legendary Edition where they remastered the original trilogy. And it's awesome to see that they're going back and working on brands that they know can be successful and that they've had success in, and that people like me really want to see the continuation of the story after Shepard, as opposed to what they did in Andromeda, which was just a cop-out, and they're just like, okay, that's what happened in the Milky Way galaxy, let's go to Andromeda. It's like, it was just one of those things, and then we get to Andromeda, and it just absolutely was not that good of a time. I mean, the combat was good, I like some of the mechanics in the game, but it's like you go to every new planet, and the only difference in the species on the planet is like a color change. Like, all the planets have the same species on it. And so you get to a point where it gets obnoxious. You don't want to have to deal with something like that. So the real issue, the biggest issue going forward for BioWare was, can we create new IPs that are successful? Can we have success with things outside of what we've already done? And honestly, it looks like no, they can't. So everybody was assuming when Disney gave the exclusive deal to EA for Star Wars that we potentially could get a Knights of the Old Republic game, stuff like that. Really, the only Star Wars thing that BioWare has done recently that is worth any note is Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is a MMO version of KOTOR, and it's called SWTOR. And I am a huge fan of SWTOR. I upload that content on my channel. Like, I had a great time in that game. But that's really one of the only new IPs, and that was in 2013 it was created, I believe. Maybe even before that. So it's not even really a new IP. So their first true new IP since Mass Effect and Dragon Age was Anthem. And it's kind of sad to say to everybody, but I never played it. Anthem was just, I never had interest in it at all. Like, the concept of it, like being in like an Iron Man super suit, yeah, that's cool. But like, after I watched more of the trailers, more of the videos, like, I could tell something was up. I didn't really know what it was as a game, and I didn't really get all that into it, the concept of it. And it was during a time in which live services were a thing, so you have to be always online. You need to be playing with friends in order to take out group content. It's almost like they tried to merge an RPG with World of Warcraft without having an MMO version of the game, where it's like you have to team up with your friends to take on certain challenges and stuff like that. And at least for me, like, at the time, back then, I mean, we're all in college, everybody's working, nobody has really any free time except for me. So I wouldn't have had a group of people to really play with. And so I just never really got into it. It's kind of like Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's like, once I realized that you see everybody in Erewhon as you walk around, and like the raid content at the end of it is like you need a group. It's like, well, I thought this was a single-player series. I thought you did great work with single-player series as BioWare. Like, I know Ubisoft and BioWare are two different things, but if you look at what they were trying to do at about the same time, they were trying to basically create a multiplayer version of these games to induce people to want to buy more stuff. And Anthem kind of falls along those lines, but unfortunately for Anthem today, I can't really comment on the game's quality or whatnot, but there is not going to be a second Anthem. So let's just switch over to the display, and I'll just read through this little update that we've got here. So if we read this, ooh, that's a little bit zoomed out for everybody. Give me a second, I'll just make it a little bit bigger. Zoom on in there. Alright, that should work. So, I believe Christian Daly is the director, not of BioWare, but I think that was the lead. Christian Daly was the lead on Anthem. So it starts off by saying, "Friends, in the spirit of transparency and closure, we wanted to share that we've made the difficult decision to stop our new development work on Anthem, aka Anthem Next. We will, however, continue to keep the Anthem live service running as it exists today." As somebody who's never played, I have no idea if that's even notable. I didn't really get into Anthem. I don't really care about Anthem. Like, you could tell it was one of those rushed BioWare products that was really pushed out of the door quickly by EA and really wasn't given the attention it deserved. And immediately after launch, like, it was one of those things where, like, Andromeda launched and then was not supported after its launch, which is one of those things I always found disappointing. Like, I wanted DLC for Andromeda. Maybe it might have made the game better if they kept working on stuff. But it really wasn't supported after launch. Like, Andromeda launched, no more support. Dragon Age Inquisition launched, lots of support afterwards. They promised to do more support with Anthem. They promised to continuously add and update stuff. But then you look at what they did, and they left the Christmas decorations up in Anthem for I forget how many months. But they literally just didn't take down the Christmas decorations from the Christmas event at one point. Because there's nobody playing, nobody really cared. And so it was one of those things where it's the dead IP, it was DOA. And I'm honestly not shocked that they made this move. Because if you're sitting up and you're the head of Electronic Arts, or you're in charge of what BioWare does because you work at Electronic Arts, you've got to be looking at it from the perspective of, what are we gaining from continuing on these brands, these IPs? These things that we know people aren't that interested in. Should we maybe shift BioWare's focus back to stuff that we know will be successful? And so I think that was probably the impetus for going for the trilogy. In my personal opinion, going for the trilogy was probably entirely just to remind everybody of what BioWare is. And when I say going for the trilogy, I'm talking about the Mass Effect remaster. I'm pretty sure since Mass Effect was BioWare's biggest IP, I'm pretty sure because the trilogy was the most loved thing that everybody liked about BioWare, they're going back, remastering that, focusing on that, solely because they want to be able to then expand later on and do more stuff. Maybe in, like, the Mass Effect, obviously they're creating another Mass Effect game. Like, stuff like that is obvious, but if you look at how they've discontinued Anthem, like, it's been a steady decrease in, like, content creation for it, steady decrease. They're like, we'll do Anthem next, but there's still that steady decrease of engagement and excitement. And we finally hit the point where I think EA and BioWare have made the decision that it's not in our best interest to continue on with this IP. Now, that sucks for anybody who's a fan of it. Like, I honestly feel real bad. Like, honestly, like, as a gamer, it sucks when your game is not liked enough to be continued, but it's one of those things you gotta look at with realistic perspective on the situation, and Anthem's not a big moneymaker. It's not. Anthem is one of those things that is a disappointment in terms of its release. The content that was in it was a disappointment. The scope of the game was a disappointment. Almost every update they made to it after release that wasn't a bug fix was a disappointment. I mean, they lied in their marketing, similar to Cyberpunk in that regard. Like, it was just one of those disasters. And this was during the time in which EA could not win. They released Star Wars Battlefront 2 with pay-to-win transactions. Like, they did so many things incorrectly and poorly leading up to this launch that it's one of those things where you can't help but realize, like, yeah, this is honestly not that good. This is a bad situation for a company to be in. And it's all their own doing. So we can continue on further. Let's see what else they got. During development, we provided updates revealing some of the team's work through blog posts and conversations with you on social media. It's been inspiring us to see the positive reactions and feedback. I've been incredibly proud of the work the team is doing and excited to see and play each new build of the experience. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Game development is hard. Decisions like these are not easy. Moving forward, we need laser focus to our efforts as a studio and strengthen the next Dragon Age and Mass Effect titles. See, I didn't even need to get to that point to understand that's what they're doing. They've only really had 2 successful titles. You've got Mass Effect, Dragon Age. Those are it. So if they want to go around and create more successful IP, they need to restart the engine. They need to rev it back up. And that means we're going to be getting, hopefully, I can't say this for certain, but we're getting more of their focus on the Mass Effect and Dragon Age versions of the game. They're going to focus harder on those games, and then maybe they can start sprinkling in some other IP here and there. Because the biggest issue for them is, like, at least there's been plenty of talk about what EA is going to do with BioWare, because BioWare hasn't hit a home run in a long time. Like, even if you want to look back on it, Mass Effect 3, it probably sold better than all the rest of the ones in the series, but the problem is everybody hated the ending. So honestly, I want to say at the ending of Mass Effect 3, what has BioWare done that has been to increase their portfolio or increase their value in terms of creating IPs and games? I mean, you've got to look at everything after that. I believe Star Wars The Old Republic came out after Mass Effect 3. I think. I'm not entirely certain on the timeline, but that game wasn't necessarily well received. I enjoy it now because they took away the grindy aspect of it being an MMO and made it more of like a single player experience where I could just play through by myself, which is awesome. I enjoy it still. So, like, just because I enjoy it doesn't mean it was successful or it was a very well received game. So you've got Star Wars The Old Republic, then you have Dragon Age Inquisition, which again, it won a lot of awards, but anybody who was really playing Dragon Age back in the day got to the game and was like, okay, this is like a little bit weird. Like, this isn't a true Dragon Age game. Sure, it's a good game, but it's not like Dragon Age The Origins. That game, you had so many different routes to get to, like, the same ending. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the same ending. Your endings would differ. Like, if you were, like, say, the human noble, you could eventually get yourself crowned king. Like, you see what I'm saying? But if you were, like, another one of those groups, like if you're a mage, you can't be crowned king. I mean, it's just slight little differences, slight variations. Like, depending on your race that you chose, you could choose to do different things. Then you get to Dragon Age 2, and you can only be a human. You can't be an elf or a dwarf. Then you get to Dragon Age Inquisition, you can finally be an elf or dwarf or human or a Kunari. But the problem is, the game mechanics, it just wasn't like it wasn't like a very fun game. That's my issue with it. And then you get to Andromeda after Inquisition. That was a disaster. My face is tired from talking. Or whatever the hell that line was. And then from that, you go to Anthem. And that was also a disaster. It's like, you released, I think, 5 games in the decade of the 2010s. I think they released 5 games. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you have Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, Star Wars The Old Republic. You got Star Wars The Old Republic. You've got Inquisition, and then Andromeda, and then Anthem. Anthem's the 6th one. So Mass Effect 2 might be there. I'm not sure if Mass Effect 2 was 2009 or 2010. So that one might be gone. But it still stands. You have Mass Effect 3, Star Wars The Old Republic, Inquisition, Andromeda, Anthem. No matter what, those were released in the 2010s. And out of all of them, the most successful one was Mass Effect 3, the one released the earliest. It's been a steady downhill from there moment for BioWare. So hopefully this frees up some resources to focus on IPs that are actually going to be successful, actually going to turn a profit, and actually going to help turn the company around. Because honestly, I'm at the point where I love BioWare's games, I love their products, but they're getting so old, and I think that's why they did the remaster. It's like with the remaster of Skyrim. It's like they weren't going to give us another single-player Elder Scrolls experience for a long time, but what they could at least do is update Skyrim and sell it to us again. Now, I'm not happy I had to buy it again, but my point is, as a company, they're trying to keep those IPs around. They're trying to keep them on the latest consoles. They're trying to keep them up to date so that people who are new, like, when I first found Mass Effect 2 had come out. I don't think Mass Effect 3 had launched yet, and I didn't really get into it. Then Mass Effect 3 launched, and I realized you could take your play from 1 to 2 to 3, and I was like, oh crap, that's awesome. That's easily one of the coolest things I've seen in games. And so I did that. I played 1, and then I played 2, and then I played 3. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so for kids, because I was a kid when I first found out Mass Effect was a thing, and it was a really fun game. So they're trying to make it so that people who are younger can get into it, because when I was young, like, let's say 10 years ago. Let's see, was I still in high school? Yeah, I was a freshman in high school. So it's one of those things where if you're talking about, like, trying to get a new audience, the best way to do it would be to remaster a classic. And I'm happy that BioWare has realized that they can't be successful with what they've been doing recently. They have to go back and rework a few things. Because as a company, it's not like BioWare is screwed. It's not like EA is screwed. They're still going to make a ton of money on, like, FIFA, Madden, games like that. But they need to focus on these single-player, story-driven RPGs. Because they had something nobody else had. Like, they did. Mass Effect at the time was something nobody else could replicate. There's no sci-fi game that got close to Mass Effect. And then you had Dragon Age, which was like a great beginning. Like, Origins is awesome, and then Awakening is awesome. And like the DLC support for the original Dragon Age was cool. But then you get to the point of Dragon Age 2. And I loved Dragon Age 2, but it was not the same game as Dragon Age Origins. Not even close. They weren't even in the same ballpark. And so they need to go back. They need to rework this stuff. They need to make this all better. And I think they are going to be able to do it. This is the first step in the right direction. I'm sorry for anybody who liked Anthem. But honestly, get the fuck rid of Anthem. Give us back those two IPs that we all love. And I think you'll start making inroads and progress. And we can start seeing an upwards trajectory instead of what we had seen, which was a downwards trajectory for so damn long. Like, as somebody who's a fan of these games, it really was. Like, it's been a steady decline for BioWare over the last decade. So I'm just hoping that they can actually put the resources behind it. EA gives them the support that they need so that they can actually continue to grow and progress. Because I need some of these new titles, man. I'm getting bored of what I'm playing. I had a lot of fun playing Valheim with my friends last night, but Valheim versus Mass Effect, I will take Mass Effect every day of the goddamn week. So, I'll see you guys next time. Hope you had a great day and enjoyed this content. Drop a comment if you have any thoughts or opinions that you want to share. And yeah, that's basically it. Not much more left for me to say, but peace. I'm out.